welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day, and even if you're not, I hope it gets better. So today I'll be discussing the Meghan and Harry documentary, as well as the reactions that people had after viewing the documentary, and I'll also be touching on an article that was written by journalist, if you want to call him that, Jeremy Clarkson. So firstly, the documentary detailed Meghan and Harry's love story. It really explained how they curated this fairy tale-like romance and how they met in secret for many months and was able to really have their love blossom outside of the prying eyes of the paparazzi and the public. The documentary also explored how Meghan was an independent, thriving career woman, a humanitarian, an awesome friend, a lovely daughter, all of this before meeting Harry, and how their romance was pretty much serendipitous because it was not necessarily something she planned. But as fate would have it, they met and they started dating, and then they eventually got engaged. And then that's when Meghan's popularity absolutely exploded. She gained international attention. She was an automatic star, and people just couldn't get enough of her, even to this day. Myself, like a lot of other people, were very hopeful, maybe even naively, about the impact that a mixed race woman marrying into the British royal family would have on a global scale, especially within the nations that made up the so-called Commonwealth. But I think what actually happened is Meghan's introduction as a woman with African ancestry into the royal family opened up some really insidious and sordid emotions and perspectives of the British media as well as the public at large. So even when Meghan was introduced to the public, immediately the headlines were vicious, which is why I don't understand why a lot of journalists from the UK say that everyone was excited and everyone was happy that Meghan and Harry got together. Yes, I would say overwhelmingly people were excited and happy, but it was not reflected in the British press. We saw in the documentary how they explored some of the headlines that came out after finding out that Meghan and Harry were indeed dating. The headlines that read, Meghan is almost straight out of Compton. There were headlines insinuating that she grew up in a gang-infested neighborhood. There were headlines that linked her to all types of illicit activity, all of which were false, first of all. And what I liked that she said in the documentary was, even though I'm not from Compton, why do you have to take a dig at Compton? What's wrong with Compton? Hey, a lot of great people grew up in Compton, and we know this. We know that Venus and Serena Williams are from Compton. We know that Kevin Costner is from Compton. So I don't know what they were trying to insinuate about Compton, and I think we know it was a racist dog whistle to say that because it is a black neighborhood, because it was a neighborhood that was marginalized, Meghan Markle could not be the right person for Prince Harry. Let's not even get into the types of people that make up the so-called British royal family. We have an individual who is currently still a part of that family, still got to keep his titles, who was accused of, you know exactly what it is. I don't want YouTube to ban me, but it involved underage children, underage women, underage girls. And the Queen paid £12 million on his behalf to make that story go away. The man claims he's never met his accuser. He claims he has no idea who she is. I don't know about you, but if I was not guilty of something, I'm not paying £12 million sterling to somebody I've never met. Anyway, moving on. The documentary also explored their beautiful love story, the love story between Meghan and Harry, and how they met, and how Meghan wasn't necessarily on a quest to find someone, but the way they met was almost serendipitous. It's like literally a Disney fairy tale, and they just decided to give love a chance. And they made it, obviously not without some ups and downs. So anyway, as we saw from the documentary, and just if you were paying attention, you would have seen that Meghan's popularity exploded. I knew who she was before she met Harry because I was familiar with the show Suits, but a lot of people, especially in the UK, didn't know who she was. But Suits was fairly popular in North America, in the US, in Canada, and they filmed Suits in Canada, and that happens to be where she lived for a while as well. So she basically just exploded as an international star. She was all over the covers of the magazine, and a lot of people expressed how amazing it was to see a woman of mixed race marrying into the British royal family. I'm going to just put a disclaimer here. I do not believe in this whole system of the monarchy, so I don't want anybody commenting and saying I'm disrespecting these people, because I do not believe that they were appointed by God to rule over us. That's just, I don't subscribe to that. And thankfully, a lot of people's sentiments regarding this family that possesses a lot of power and class through the means of slavery and colonialism, a lot of people are starting to reject the notion that they somehow deserve divinity or to have this idea of sovereignness. So delving into that, the documentary also talked about how Meghan was sort of surprised at how formal and how reserved the family actually was in public as well as behind closed doors. She also expressed that, as an American, she understood that some people within the UK society or the British society may not understand her forwardness or her need to hug a lot of people because she's a hugger. She's a really extroverted, outgoing person. She still wanted to maintain a positive view of this family because she loved Harry, so she made an attempt. She made the best attempt she could to fit in with his family and to really give them a chance. I absolutely love Meghan Markle's mom. She's just so beautiful, and she's just so kind, and she loves her daughter to bits. And I love the fact that she called out Meghan's dad for basically selling her out to the press. Another thing that was interesting was that her mom commented on how she wished she would have had the race talk with Meghan when she was younger in order to prepare her for the racist rhetoric that was flying at her out of the press. And Meghan also touched on that being a mixed race woman who is of a lighter complexion, she didn't deal with the racism that, say, a black woman who is visibly black or a dark-skinned black woman would have to deal with on a daily basis. So, she also mentioned the fact that there were many times she was in spaces where people weren't quite sure who she was. And she's written articles about this as well, where she said, she'd be hanging around people and they didn't know she was black, so they would make racist comments about other people. And that's when she was able to see who they really were. A lot of people even that she's met said they didn't know that she had a black mother. But one thing I liked is that if you go back and you read a lot of the articles she's written or the conversations she's had, she's always talked about being a mixed race woman in America and what that entails. However, I think she was in for a shock because when the British press found out that she was mixed race, she was treated not like a mixed race woman, not like a light-skinned black woman, not like a woman of racial ambiguity, but as just a black woman. And as we know, this idea of like the one drop rule would really come to the forefront in something like the British monarchy, where bloodlines and colonialism and slavery is basically what it was able to survive on. So in a way, I understand where she's coming from in terms of her naivete, because people in North America, Canada, America, we don't sit around and read things about the British royal family. I really only started paying attention to them when Meghan got married, or when we knew that she was going to get married to Harry. That's when I started paying attention. I did know a little bit about Princess Diana, that she was very much the people's princess, as they termed her, and that she was always at odds with the royal family because of her outgoing nature and her just wanting to be out there in a global sense, not caring about people's skin color and so on. And in the sit-down interview that Harry had for a program, not the one where both him and Meghan sat down with Oprah, but there was another program that Harry spoke about mental health on, and he commented on the fact that his mother was hounded by the press and she was bullied because she married somebody who was not white. Not married, but she was dating somebody who was not white, and it seemed like she was very much in love with this man. I think his name was Dodi Al-Fayed, and he said he didn't want history to repeat itself with Meghan because he was now married to a woman who was not white. He really is, aware of a lot of the systemic racism that happens within the monarchy, but he, as a white man as well, was also kind of blind to it. So I think it's interesting to see, some of his actions in the past to now, where he's basically committing to exploring life in an anti-racist perspective. So the documentary also explored slavery and colonialism, as well as the fact that England was still paying enslavers for the abolishment of slavery, yet Black people received no reparations. Up to the year 2015, enslavers were still receiving reparations, yet Black people, people of African descent, have not received a dime. Now, the last episode of the documentary basically ended with a bombshell, where we see that Harry's brother, William, and sorry, I don't really give them titles like Prince this and Prince that, because as I said, it's not really something I care about, or I won't always remember to say it. But his brother William had a press secretary or head of communications who actually participated in the Mail on Sunday's case against Meghan Markle. Nobody asked him for his input. He willingly went forward to help the Mail on Sunday's case against Meghan when she was suing them for publishing a very private letter between her and her father. She sent this letter to her father at the advice of Elizabeth, the queen, or the former queen, and her son Charles. It was their suggestion for her to write this letter. Somehow it got intercepted, and someone got a hold of that letter and was able to publish it with this tabloid called the Daily Mail or the Mail on Sunday. All of these are Rupert Murdoch newspapers. I think he also owns the National Enquirer, if I'm not mistaken. So we know the type of person Rupert Murdoch is, but I digress. So anyway, Meghan was triumphant in that case. She won her case against the Mail on Sunday, and they had to apologize and pay her a sum of money, as well as make the apology public in one of their newspapers. So, by now, everyone that was interested would have seen the documentary, and a lot of people were flabbergasted, horrified to know that Meghan was being hounded by the press to the point that she was suicidal. I mean, I know that most of us knew this from the Oprah interview, but we kind of get to see the extent to which they hounded her. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking to see her mother in that interview in that documentary, say that it was so hard for her to watch her child, her baby, this little girl that she birthed, be subject to this type of racist, misogynist treatment in the press. So, I'm happy that a lot of people got to see Meghan and Harry's side of the story. And I'm happy that they have a freer life, a more beautiful life. They're surrounded by people like Tyler Perry, who we now found out is actually the godfather of Lilibet. So that is absolutely crazy. But Meghan basically wanted to express how grateful she was because Tyler allowed them to live in one of his beautiful homes in California to kind of just settle their minds and refocus their attention on what was important. And that was getting to a place of peace and clarity and finding a home in which they could raise their family. So, one thing I noticed, especially on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whichever social media platform, is a lot of people really felt bad when Meghan said, you know what, these types of lies, these types of words that you print about me, you may think it's fun, but you are inciting hate towards me and you are making people actually want to kill me, and I am scared. I was heartbroken when she said that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having your children and you are worried that some crazy person is going to come out of nowhere and try to hurt them or try to hurt you or try to hurt your husband or your mom? Can you imagine that? So after all the fallout, everyone decided they wanted to express how they felt. A lot of the reviews of the documentary were positive. People were glad to hear from them to see what was really happening between Meghan and Harry and the royal family. But one thing I really wanted to talk about, I'm not going into anything that the trolls had to say because there will always be trolls. They'll always be miserable with their lives. And all you can do is wish that the peace of God will fall on them and they will come to some type of clarity or whatever. You don't want to spend too much time on them. But there was an article written by a journalist, if you want to call him that, by the name of Jeremy Clarkson. It was probably one of the most disgusting things I have seen written about a human being by a so-called journalist who is supposed to be fairly respected. So he wrote this article for a tabloid called The Sun, and he basically said that Meghan should be paraded in the streets of Britain, fully undressed. I don't even want to give credence to anything he's saying, and I don't even want to get as vulgar as he was, but he was basically just saying she should be paraded in the streets with no clothes on, and people should throw excrement at her. I mean, dear God, this has to stop. This hate against this woman has to stop. I really just want to put it out there that when we lead with hatred, nothing good comes from it. If you don't like Meghan Markle, if you don't like Harry, tune them out. If you're scrolling through Twitter and you see their name pop up, you don't have to click on it, right? There are many celebrities that I'm not interested in. Guess what? I just scroll past, or if it's on TV, I change the channel. I don't have to go and make a YouTube channel or go on TikTok or go on Twitter to spew hate towards that person. That's insanity. But I hope that Meghan is aware that there are millions of people that support them. What's the term? Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. This documentary was groundbreaking. It broke all kinds of records. It went to #1 in so many countries. It is their highest debuting documentary of all time on Netflix. It had something like 81 million watch hours within the first couple days. It's been translated into 15 different languages. People care and people want to know about her. But if you're not one of those people, try your best and say, would I want this for my child? Would I want this for my child? I may not like this person, but I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to create YouTube channels slandering her. And that's another thing with YouTube. I really thought that when it comes to bullying, they took those accusations seriously, but there are actually channels dedicated to just ripping this woman apart. A woman who has never committed a crime. A woman who has never done something that is deplorable enough to warrant this type of hate. But guess what? Within the British royal family, there are people who have been accused of actual crimes, right? We mentioned the person that paid £12 million to somebody who he says he has never met. And I don't see anyone saying that he should be paraded through the streets in such a shameful manner. But anyway, I thank you so much for tuning into my channel. And you know what? This isn't my channel. This is our corner. And I hope that you'll come back and watch more videos. Comment down below. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. And we are just going to go on this journey together. This is my first video. And I hope it reaches, even if it's just one person. I hope you like the video. I hope you can share it, leave a comment, do whatever you can to support it. Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed and wonderful day.